When we talk about the movements of any joint, because that's what the function of a joint is, to move, we need a muscles or a muscular action to be exerted or performed on that joint for the joint to be able to move voluntarily. Moreover, blood and nerve supply are important for the integrity and the functioning of any structure, because nerves provide stimulation and sensory feedback, whereas blood provides, or the blood supply provides, the adequate nutrition to that structure. So that is true for knee joint as well, and that brings us to our topic. And in this section, we're going to talk about the blood and nerve supply of the knee joint. We're also going to talk about the muscle action, that the muscles which actually insert or attach around the knee joint and perform movements at the knee joint. And we're also going to talk about the Q angle. So let's start off with the nerve supply. So nerve supply is very important, because if we even specifically talk about the knee joint, because it is one of the joints in the body which have the most rich supply in terms of mechanoreceptors, and we need sensations from the joint because it provides us with very important feedback, such as joint position sense, joint movement sense, joint proprioception, as well as sensations of pain, which tells a person if there is any trauma or any pathology at the joint or degeneration at the joint. So the nerve supply is very important for the joint. So when we talk about the nerve supply of the knee joint, it follows the Hilton's law, which is it is supplied by the nerves, which supplies the muscle which cross the joint. So the nerves which supply the muscles which cross the joint include the tibial nerve, peroneal nerve, and the lateral sural cutaneous nerve. So these are the nerves which actually supply the muscles, and that is why they supply the joint as well, and they are very important for the integrity and functioning of the knee joint. So we have the femoral nerve, the tibial nerve, and the common fibular nerve, and the part of that, the lateral sural cutaneous nerve. Now, talking about the blood supply of the knee joint, even though the nutrition inside the joint is performed, or the function is carried out by the synovial fluid, but still we have the blood supply which also goes to different structures, and the most important arteries is through the arteries which supply the blood to the knee joint. They are actually the genicular arteries. So the blood supply of the knee joint is through the genicular anastomosis around the knee. So if we take a look at the genicular arteries, they are supplied by genicular branches of the femoral and popliteal arteries. So here in this figure we can see, so this one is the medial view and this one is the lateral view. So let's take a look at the medial view first. So here we can see this one is the femoral artery. Now this femoral artery is actually giving a branch here, which is the superior medial genicular artery, because it's on the medial side. Then we have the middle genicular artery, which is going between the joint, and then we have the inferior medial genicular artery, and here we have the posterior tibial artery. Now talking about the lateral view, here we can see that this is the popliteal artery. So here we have the superior lateral genicular artery, the middle genicular artery, which is on the medial side as well, here you can see, and the here is the anterior tibial artery and the posterior tibial artery. So here we can see that there is another inferior lateral genicular artery, which is also given off by the popliteal artery. And here we have the periarticular genicular anastomosis of the knee, which is actually found by the superior lateral genicular artery and the inferior lateral genicular artery on the lateral side, and the superior medial genicular artery and inferior medial genicular artery on the medial side, and they are making this periarticular genicular anastomosis of the knee, and that's how the blood supply of the knee joint is fulfilled. Now, one very specific thing when we talk about the knee joint is the Q angle, because it is very important in the functioning of the knee joint. It is also concerned with the structure of the knee joint. So it is an angle between the quadriceps and the patellar tendon. So here we can see that this is the tibial tuberosity, and this is the, here we have the patella, and here we have the, you can say, the patellar tendon. Now, around here we have the muscle, which starts off from the anterior superior iliac spine, specifically the rectus femoris part of the quadriceps, and then insert into the tibial tuberosity via the patella. So here there is this muscle. So the angle is between the quadriceps, or more specifically the rectus femoris, and the patellar tendon. So if you want to measure or draw the Q angle, so it can be determined by drawing two lines. One would be from the anterior superior iliac spine, and it will extend from the anterior superior iliac spine to the midpoint of the patella. So here's the patella, we made the midpoint of the patella and we joined it with the anterior superior iliac spine. The second would be the tubal tuberosity. We will point out the tubal tuberosity and we will join the tubal tuberosity with the midpoint of the patella. Now these two lines intersect at one point, and that point of intersection makes an angle which is known as Q angle, and that's how we can measure the Q angle, and which is formed by these intersecting lines. One important point is that that we have mentioned anterior superior iliac spine here, but actually the rectus femoris originates from the anterior inferior iliac spine. But it is very easy to palpate the anterior superior iliac spine, and thus it is easier to measure via the anterior superior iliac spine. So that's why we can use that as a reference, because it's just slightly above the anterior inferior iliac spine. So as I already mentioned, although rectus femoris attaches to the anterior inferior iliac spine, anterior superior iliac spine lies just above the anterior inferior iliac spine and is easier to palpate. The normal range for Q angle is around 13 to 80 degrees for normal individuals, which is usually smaller in males as compared to females. The reason because of that is the shape of the pelvis. Because if we take a look at this picture here, and if there is a broad pelvis, so this point here on the anterior superior iliac spine would move more laterally, which would in turn increase the Q angle. And that is the case in the Q angle as well, and the females, in which they have the gynecoid pelvis, which is broader as compared to android pelvis among males, which is narrower as compared to females. So it tends to be greater in females because of the wider pelvis, and that is normal for them. And if there is an abnormal range of the Q angle, which is less than 13 degrees or beyond 18 degrees, so that can actually result in abnormal function of the knee joint, and it can result in patellofemoral pain syndrome, or also known as patellofemoral dysfunction. So we can measure this very easily using an X-ray, or we can also use methods such as superficial methods to calculate this angle. And if someone has patellofemoral pain, so it can be because of the Q angle as well. Now, talking about the muscles acting at the knee joint, we have two major group of muscles. One is the quadriceps and one is the hamstring. So quadriceps serves as the prime mover in knee extension, and it has four parts. One is the two joint muscle, which is the rectus femoris, and we have three single joint muscles or one joint muscles, which is the vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedialis. So rectus femoris is two joint because it serves as a prime mover in knee extension, but it also assists in hip flexion. Similarly, if we talk about knee flexion, the prime movers are the hamstrings, in which we have the multiple joint muscle, which is the long head of the biceps, which acts as knee flexor as well as hip extensor. Other than that, we also have the short head of the bicep femoris, which is single joints. It only acts as the knee flexor. We also have semitendinosus and semimembranosus as two joint knee flexors, and they also act as secondary movers in the hip extension. Popliteus is also one of the one joint muscles for knee flexion, but it is not as strong as the hamstrings, and it actually assists hamstrings in this function. The other muscles which actually pass through the knee joint posteriorly include the sartorius, gracilis, gastrocnemius, and tensor fasciae lata. Once again, gastrocnemius main function is plantar flexion, but it assists in the function of the knee flexion, and that is the case with sartorius, gracilis, and tensor fasciae lata as well. So that's all about the nerve supply, blood supply, Q angle, and the muscles of the knee joint which are actually acting upon it. And that was all about this lecture. I hope you learned something new out of it, but stay tuned for more lectures in this series of lectures, and keep on watching sqadia.com. Thank you very much.